चलो बिस्मिल्लाह.
Yes, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is Kareem Shirazi. As we have committed to have a live session for the writing and reading, and today we have got Mr. Hussain Tariq. He is CELTA certified, and currently he's working in Irish company at KSA as an academic manager, and he has been over a decade experience for the IELTS teaching online and face to face. And today, the reason for having this session for the candidates who are struggling for their IELTS exam, and especially for writing and reading. So in this session, we have got two part. Number one is for writing, and number two is for reading. Means IELTS writing and IELTS reading. So we will start from Hussain Tariq first to introduce himself, and then we will be asking him a question for the IELTS related with IELTS writing. So Hussain, yes, over to you. Please introduce yourself and then start.
Okay, thank you very much for having me on board. Well, to introduce myself, I'm currently working as an academic and a training manager at an institute called Direct English. And my job responsibility involves hiring teachers, interviewing the teachers, assessing them, going into the classroom, and then like monitoring the way they're teaching and ensuring that the teaching that we have in the center is standardized, which means that we follow the same pattern that is actually given to us by the institute from Ireland. Apart from that, I'm also teaching IELTS, which I'm teaching in the center, and I teach also online. And I've been teaching IELTS for approximately, I should say, around 20 years or more, but yes.
Okay, good. So yes, we have got the number of questions, and I will be asking you one by one, and let's have some questions from the audience if they are interested in. So we will be discussing that too. The first question for the IELTS is yes. I'm asking. The first question is why professionals studying with the IELTS writing exam and unable to get 7 and plus band in the first attempt, and even though they have attempted several times, but they are unable to achieve the required result.
Well, in the first place, I think there mustn't be any kind of categorization in terms of having someone on board as a professional or somebody as not professional. Now, if you're referring to somebody as a professional, like somebody is an engineer or somebody is a doctor or somebody is, for example, let's say is a teacher, okay? Now, that does not actually guarantee that because he's a professional, he's supposed to have very strong language skills. Well, we can't say that. On the other hand, when we see someone who is from a strong school background, he's in O and A levels at the moment, he could possibly have a strong language skills, and he can perform much better than someone who is professional. Now, again, the question is how you can achieve a higher band score in 7. You see that lots of people have good writing skills. They know how to use a variety of English tenses, grammar, complex structures in the writing. They also know how to use a variety of vocabulary in the texts that they write. But again, the main problem is, and the reason why students, opt for IELTS course is mainly just because they want to know, the tricks and the strategies, the tricks. Perhaps they want to know about the criteria onto which their writing is assessed. Now, once you know those secrets, for example, you can achieve the required band score. And that is the main reason why students actually go for preparation. Well, if I say that I have very strong writing skills, okay, I can write very well. But again, the question is that can I write on the criteria onto which I will be assessed by IELTS examiner? And if the answer is no, then I need to find someone who can train me on those skills, and then I can reflect back. You see, in writing, reflection is an important thing. Reflection means like whatever you write, you can go back to the public band score descriptor, which is available online. You can reflect back and see that whether your writing matches with the descriptions or not. If it doesn't, then you need to be assessed. I must say that the instructor positive feedback is very important, and that is only given to you by your teacher. And this is why I say that you need someone to help you through, a teacher or a trainer or somebody who can help you to
Okay,
achieve
okay,
the
then
high.
okay. The next question is what is the marking criteria, or you can say what is the marking scheme from the examiner perspective, by which the examiner evaluate the writing task 1 and task 2. Let me clear one thing, that students are confused about the weightage, like task 1 weightage and task 2 weightage and overall weightage. Like how do the examiner evaluate writing task 1 and writing task 2? I mean, what is the marking criteria as per the Cambridge board?
Okay, okay. Okay. Now this is something I'm always telling my students in my classroom. Whenever I walk in, I always tell them that they have to spend more time on task 2 because it carries more weight. It carries more bands. It carries more bands, and this is
Okay.
why if you look at the difference of time allocated for each task, you will see that for task 2 you have 40 minutes, okay, which means that carries more important, carries more band as well,
Mhm.
and therefore you need to spend more time on task 2. At the same time, it's also important, I think it's not just important, actually it's critical that you start with writing task 2 when you start your exam for writing the exam, okay, and
Okay.
so that you can spend more time on it, so you get more band score on writing task 2, and there is less actually weightage given to task 1. Now, task 1 actually differs from academic to general writing, but again, the weightage should be the same. Now, when we talk about just the weightage of each, for example, task, which is task 1, task 2, I think first of all, we can just talk about task 2. You know that
Okay.
you are assessed on certain criteria. For
Hmm.
example, you're assessed on task response, okay, which means that how well you can address the task, okay, whether you were able to analyze the question in the beginning before you jumped on to write your essay, whether you were able to look at the key features of the questions, the important keyword that you think that you must address when you're writing your task too. So you need to analyze the question in the beginning, in the first 2 minutes. So that's task response. The second criteria is called coherence and cohesion, that how well you organize your ideas. And if you are able to use a range of cohesive devices in your essay. And then we talk about lexical resource, which means that if you're able to use a variety of vocabulary, a style of collocation that you can introduce, okay, in your essay. And finally, it's all about grammatical range and accuracy, which means that if you're able to, or can you possibly use a range of grammatical structures. Now, again, if you want to go higher from band 6 to band 7, you need to do a reflection, as I said in the beginning. Reflection means you need to look at your own writing, and then you have to go back and look at the description and see if your writing matches with the description or not. Now, for example, if the majority of the sentences in your essay, they're a mixture of simple and complex sentences, it means that
Okay.
somehow you can achieve a 6 band or maybe 6.5 band for that particular criteria. Okay, but if the majority of the sentences that you have produced in your essay, and it's not, it's just all about a variety of complex structures. Okay, for example, you use different modal verbs. You use modal verbs in the form of passive structures. You use relative clauses. You use, for example, a variety of conditional structures, for example. Now, in that case, examiner can see that the student knows how to use a variety of complex sentences and address them in writing task 2. So if you can handle that very well, and again, if you've written your essay, and as I said before, you do the reflection, you go back and look at the description, and then you're satisfied, oh yes, I can achieve a 7 band for that criteria. Now for each
Okay.
criteria, there is 9 band, okay? So if you can
Hmm.
achieve 7 band for grammatical range and accuracy, and then you achieve, let's say, 6 band for lexical resource, and you
Hmm.
get, for example, 0.5 for coherence and cohesion, because you're more than able to use a range of linking words, cohesive devices. So you get
Okay.
a more balanced that, okay? And then task response. And then they calculate that, that score out of 4, and the
Hmm.
average is what you get as your total band score. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Okay, moving towards writing task one and task two. First, we will start from writing task one, like talking about for the academic IELTS, you need report writing, and for general training, letter writing. So first, we will come to the letter writing. Like normally, professionals say that letter writing is a very easy task. So, what is your opinion that what things the candidate should have in his mind when writing a quality letter for band 7 and 7 plus? So, firstly, talking about letter for the task one for the general training, and then after we will come towards the report writing. So, your views upon writing task one for GT? Yes.
Okay. To begin with, I should say that you need to divide task one, if it is for general training, into two categories, into two parts. Where the first thing is called the task, and the other thing is called a situation. Okay. Now you need to first of all read the task. Okay. That helps you to think of how you're going to start your letter, and then you need to look at the situation. Okay. Now, if you can understand these two things, the task and situations, you know that how you're going to address the task. Also, you also need to understand that whether the letter is a formal letter or an informal letter. So you should know how, for example, what kind of vocabulary you need to use in your letter, if it is formal or informal. Now,
Okay.
informal letter does allow you to use contractions, okay? But if you're
Okay.
writing a formal letter, you may be use contractions in a formal letter. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And okay, moving towards writing task one for the academic report writing, that it has got like different parts of report, like such as pie chart or graph, line graph, or sometimes there is a picture like process or table. So, what do you think that what are the key elements that a student need to have in his mind just to perform well for the academic writing task one? Like, what are the key points for academic task one, academic writing task one?
Okay. Now, one of the most important things that I'd like to talk about, citing task one, is that because it is called interpretation, you need to interpret the information. So the information that you see represented in tasks in the graph, which is either a pie chart or a bar chart, you need to use a phrase or vocabulary that is not in the question, that is not in the chart. Okay. You need to interpret the information. You have to use some sort of a vocabulary which means the same as what the graph says. For example, I'll give an example, like something, there was a change between 1990 to 2000, okay? If I say that there was a change between 1990 and 2000, which is in the graph, and even the examiner knows about this thing, how about if I change it? How about if I say that there was a change over a decade, for example?
Okay. Okay. That's
You
right.
also need to be able to understand the trends in the graph. You also need to be able to know the right vocabulary to describe the graph here.
But
Okay.
there is a
Now, in the graph, you talk.
there is a question like some students are confused like that they write overall kind of summary. So some examiners suggested over the internet that you should start the summary of writing task one at the top, and some of the teachers or trainers says you have to write overall view of the task one at the end. So what do you suggest, which one is right, both are right, or one of them is wrong, or what is the best idea for a student not to be confused for the overall view for the writing task one? Where do they need to set up, in the top or at the end?
Yeah. Well, I would strongly say that if you just want to write an overall view about the graph, that should go in the introduction in the beginning, not at the bottom, because there is no concept of conclusion in writing task one. So that should be that you should bear this thing in your mind. And
Mhm.
then in later on in your body paragraph, you actually start talking about the graph. You actually start writing the graph. You actually start describing the graph. So that's what exactly you do. So introduction is all about the summary, what the graph is all about, okay? What the graph shows, for example. Let's say if you look at the graph, you say that the graph shows an increase in the number of in the number of population in Britain,
Mm.
for example, in 3 decades, for example. So you just write a
Okay.
small summary. When you start the body paragraph, now that's where you start to talk about the graph. For example, you start to talk about the vertical axis, you start talking about the horizontal axis, you start talking about the trends, for example, the increases and decreases, for example. You need to be very careful about the use of grammar, because you will see that the statistics, for example, that are shown in the graph, they're all about in past. So you need to make sure that you use the past tense more often, unless
Okay.
if there is a time that shows something will happen in the future, for example, by 2025, which is probably all about prediction. For example, we say that by 2025, the increase will be somehow like 450,000 million people. So unless
Okay.
there is something about future, but you have to use past tense more often, yes.
Okay, good. Now, okay, moving towards the part two, right? Essay writing, which is the difficult task for the people. The first question is, how many types of essays for the IELTS? And are there
Yeah.
types of essays, or yes, there is one type, there are two types, or what if there are types? So, what is the difference between understanding the types and how to address those types? Because this is a common questions from the most of the students.
And I think this is the very first thing what we're teaching on the very first day of the lesson. We tell them the different formats and the type of questions so that they can structure the essay accordingly. For example, there might be a question based on problems and solutions. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So, you know, how you organize the number of how many paragraphs you need to produce.
Hmm.
There could be a question on discussion, which says discuss a question.
Okay,
You could also be asked to write an essay, which is an argument, which is about arguments. Okay, and
okay,
you can just understand, just recognize it. This type of question based on argument, where it's ask you a question: do you agree or disagree? Or
okay,
maybe maybe if it can also ask you a question like, do you agree with this statement? Or maybe it can also ask you a question like, to what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Now,
okay.
another way you can recognize the question type, if it is argument, is that usually an argumentative question is based on a single statement.
Okay. So what is the difference
Okay.
between agree or disagree or discuss both the views? I mean, is there a difference in body paragraph or pattern of the essay? What is the actual difference of agree, disagree, or to what extent agree, disagree, or discuss both the views?
Well, in case of when you're asked to discuss both views, for example, it means that you are being asked. It's actually a discussion question, a discursive question. Now, in
Okay.
discursive question, you have two statements, and they both build a contrast from each other.
Hmm.
But in case of argumentative question, you have only one statement, and you have
Okay.
to either agree or disagree with the statements.
Okay.
Now,
One-sided.
normally, if you
One-sided.
look at the Cambridge
One-sided.
pattern, it says that yes, that's right. Now, I think you're going to make a huge mistake if you discuss both sides. If the question is based on do you agree or disagree with the statement, and you agree and disagree both, you need to make a huge mistake, right?
Okay, yes, 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 yes. I agree with you. I agree with you. But so many examiner has got conflict in this. Like they say that
Yeah.
recently we had a training and there was a question raised by so many trainers, and the trainer is well trained and has been the examiner, had been the examiner of Cambridge for many years, and he said that whether it is agree or disagree, or whether it is to extent do you agree or disagree, or it is discuss both the views. In all types of essay, you have to discuss both the parts. You both the parts. So this is the confusion. It was the confusion that so what is the difference between agree, disagree, and discuss both the views if we have to address both the topic. So I think your point is right that if it is agree or disagree, so we have to stick to the one side and elaborate in the detail. And if it is discuss both the view, we have to cover both the aspects in the detail. Okay. So another question is, so you have discussed how many types? Number one, discuss both the views. Number second, agree, disagree. And number third is, you said a problem and solution. Okay.
Well, yeah, or maybe causes and effects in solution.
Okay. 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 Good. Okay. Another question is,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, yes, for the writing task two, another question is, okay, there are different types of the essay, whether it is three, whether it is four, we are not going into the detail. But the question is like, how can we write a balanced essay? Like, how many number of words overall should be for the writing task 2? Overall number of words and number of words in each paragraph, like in introduction, in body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2. And one more thing, that how many paragraphs are suggested by the examiner? 4 paragraph, 5 paragraph, or 6 paragraph? And about the balancing of number of words, range of words. Yes.
Okay, I wish I had a piece of paper here, so I probably could have given you a demonstration about the way you need to design your essay layouts, for example. But just to give
Okay.
you a very simple answer to the question is, I would say that your introduction should not be more than like 30 or 35 words.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So your
Okay.
introduction should be very small. In other words, like if it is a discursive question, just an example. So if somebody reads a question or a task, and if somebody reads your introduction, you have feelings that the meaning is somehow same or similar, but the words are absolutely changed. So that's how
Okay.
what you do. You actually rephrase the question, right?
Okay.
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 At the same time, you can also add up a thesis statement, which gives a roadmap to the reader that what exactly you're going to do in your essay. So I would say that you can have approximately 3 lines, 35 words, or maybe 30 words, but not more than that. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
See the body paragraph now. Now, usually I would say that you can have only 2 body paragraphs, and that's all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah. And each body paragraph, even if you're able to produce around 97 words or maybe 100 words, or sometimes 103 words, that's absolutely okay. Which means if you can write at least 7 sentences, that's okay. In one
Okay.
body
That's
paragraph and also in the other body paragraph. And let me tell you one more thing. If you look at the length of your introduction, the length of your conclusion has to be the same or similar.
okay. That should be similar. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that I'm sorry to cut in between, and that gives an impression to the examiner that you have written a balanced essay.
okay. 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 Tell me examples. How much examples are necessary, and what type of examples can a student write in the essay? Like personal
I like the
example.
question.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I love this question. You see that I've seen that most of the time students fail to support their ideas with examples, and I tell them if you want to register for the IELTS test again in the future, you've got enough money to give it to the British Council. Go on, okay. But if you
Okay.
don't have
Okay.
yeah, I always tell them that you have to support your ideas, your reasons that you have to support, your main ideas. There is there's a small formula for that, which
Okay.
which I call a triangular formula. On one
Okay.
hand, like in the triangle, you have the one line here, and the line here, and the last line right in the at the bottom. Okay, so this line actually represents a topic sentence,
Okay. Okay.
because you always start a paragraph with a topic sentence. And then what you do, you then, the second line is a representation of supporting statements. So
Okay.
then after your topic, you support the sentence. Okay, that's a
Okay.
supporting statement, which is a reason. And then
Okay.
at the bottom line, you have example to support your example. Now, Kareem, if you look at the band score descriptor for task achievement, it says that for 7 band that you're able to support, extend, and give example to the topic sentence. Okay. Now,
Okay.
if you're
Okay.
not supporting example, if you're not giving an example to your idea that you presented in your task 2, you're telling the examiner, I don't need 7 band. I want to come back to you again. Do you understand?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And second, you asked me a question about whether it should be a general example or personal example. You see, the
Okay.
first thing I'm always students on the day first that they should be doing a lot of reading at home, like
Okay.
newspapers, magazines, and journals and articles, because
Hmm.
they can be very good resource to help them to collect data, information, and ideas that they can use in their writing as ideas, examples, and so on. It's very important that you support example to support your supporting ideas, and your example should be global, should be general, not personal.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Facts and figures. Facts and figures. Facts and figures. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There are two more questions left. The second last question is: what is the procedure of scrutiny for the writing test? Do you recommend it or not?
Well, I don't, to be honest. No,
Okay.
I think
So,
the money. Okay, the money that you invest for scrutiny. Okay, I think you can add some more money and then you can register for the exam. But usually, the cases I've come across in past, it says that well, usually the British Council says, sorry, your score
mm,
was the same. There was no
mm,
difference. The decision from examiner was absolutely correct. And by the time you come to know that the decision from the examiner was correct, oh, you say that, oh, come on, I wasted my money. What if
okay.
I could have invested? I could have added some more money. I could have gone for re-registration with the exam center. So I think it's a folly. It's a stupid thing. It's rather preposterous to go and register one more time. Sorry, to get your paper scrutinized one more time. The best thing is you can register yourself. Yeah, and Kareem, one last thing. And I think that to avoid this thing, you need to make sure that you go to the right person, and then you prepare well for the test. You
Mm,
unlock the secrets of the exam. You have the right key, and when you go for the exam, you know that you know all the secrets to achieve 7 band. You remember in the beginning I said something. That's what we call a reflection. Now, if you do a lot of reflection, you are able to achieve a very high band. But if you fail to
okay.
do a reflection, you lose it. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Last
Yes.
and instructive positive feedback is very important. Like me or you as a teacher, okay, we need to make sure that we give feedback all the time on the writing tasks sent to us by our students, and that should be very positive feedback. Okay.
Okay. The last question. The last question is: what is the time division for writing task one and task two when they are appeared in the final exam? What is the time division? Ideal time division. Like how much time they should spend in each task or overall, or bifurcation. Talking about bifurcation of timing. Yes.
Yeah, okay. If you just ask me about the writing time, the time when you're actually writing task two, I should say it should not be more than 20 minutes.
Okay.
That's it. And the
Okay.
total time for task is 40 minutes. But the question is that what are you doing in the remaining 20 minutes? Are you
Yes, that's
enjoying
the
your
question.
time having a
Yes.
cup of coffee? No,
Yes. 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 Yes.
no. Actually, yeah. You see that you need to do a lot of things. For example, in the beginning, as I said earlier, that you need to analyze the question. You need to, like highlight the important words in the question or the phrases that you need to address in your task two.
Mhm.
And then you need to have time, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to brainstorm for ideas.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you
That.
can write down the ideas on a separate piece of paper. You can
Mhm.
also write the possible examples that you need to use in task two. Okay.
Oh. Oh. Yes. Thank you so
It's
much.
also,
You have described. You have described in the detail about the writing task one and task two, and
uh,
I think there are
thing,
some. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Shiraz, I want to say something. You see, there is a mistake that a lot of students do. That when they finish their essay, task two, they don't go back and check again.
Okay. Yes. This is a common mistake. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You see, at times when we are busy writing, because there's a lot of pressure of time in the exam, we tend to make some mistakes. They're kind of unintentional mistakes. We don't know about that. And we know that this is a mistake. So if you revisit the essay, and if you have maybe like 2 or 3 minutes in the end, if you just read through the text again, then you come across a mistake. You say, oh, this is a mistake I've made. So you can just correct the mistake, write at the same time, so that you are not penalized for the mistake that you made unintentionally. So that's very important. And you should have at least 2 minutes in the end. And finally, very important point, you must count the number of words that you have produced.
Okay.
Because if you have written words, let's say less than 250 words, I'm telling
Mm.
you, you'll lose your bar score. So you must
Okay.
count the number of words. If you have written more than 250 words, that's okay. But if you've written less than 50 words, well, I think that's an issue, a controversial
That's
issue.
oh yes, controversial. Okay, thank you so much for highlighting the important points and intricacies for the IELTS writing task 1 and task 2. And you have unleashed very nicely and beautifully. And I hope that those students are watching, and they will, or some of them will watch later. So if they have any query for IELTS writing, for reading, they can discuss with us. They can send their messages on our Facebook page. They can call us. And another part is going to start today. Is actually this is I am not the host and Hussain Tariq is not the guest. Actually, we both are hosts and we both are guests. So we have decided that he will discuss about the writing topic, and today I will discuss about the reading topics or reading questions for the IELTS. So he'll be asking me some questions, and I'll be trying my best to reply accordingly. And maybe it will be useful for the candidates to inculcate these points in their mind when they are attempting the IELTS reading exam. Yes. Yes. Over to you. The question.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I think most of the students take reading as nightmare.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. This is the question. This is the question.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, why students consider reading a nightmare?
Okay. Actually, the first thing I would like to clear that I have been living in Pakistan for many years, and over the years I have been experiencing the students in Pakistan. So according to the Pakistani market, there is no trend for the reading. General reading, there is no trend. Like if you can believe, Hussein, in Pakistan there is a 5% people they just read, and out of those 5 people only 2 people are a quality reader, and most of them the remaining 3% they read something fiction or some sort of stories or Imran series or these types of things. So I think that is why we have the fear, because we are not provoked by the parents and by the teacher to read since the beginning. And students hardly, even in the university level, they hardly read the things which is related to their curricular activities. Which is bound by the or imposed by their teachers. Forcefully, they have to read. So that is the reason. And another thing, there is no concept of reading newspaper, English newspaper. There is no concept of reading magazine or no article side. And students just run far away from the reading, and that is the reason that they are always having a fear. And in terms of IELTS reading, it is extensive reading. Like you don't have to even only read, but you have to extract the right answer. So for that, you need to have the understanding of overall context. You need to have a better grammatical understanding of the structuring which is being used in the writing, vocabulary, and so much. Like if you are not an avid reader, so you will be having much problem for cracking your questions for the IELTS exam.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, the question is that if someone comes to you and you discover that his reading skills are the worst, okay, and he needs a 7 band, and it seems quite out of the question for him to be able to achieve 7 band because his level of language is very low. How will you be able to cater that student in that particular situation?
Yes, you're right. Very nice question. Most of the students come to us and they said, "But my reading is very weak, and I want to get the 7 band. What should I do?" So I don't have a magic stick that I gave to the student and he gets 7. So what is yes? What is the procedure we follow? Initially, we have an assessment from the student for the general reading or IELTS reading, and give him some time, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and say him just to solve it. And as soon as he finishes the test, we just understand that how many questions are right and what is his level. If his level is worse, like around 3 band or 4 band, so what we do that we also assess his other 3 skills. Maybe he is good at writing, he's good at speaking, whereas he's very much weak in reading. So the shortcut is we convince him to start the preparation. If it is like 4 band or 5 band, and say that you cannot improve overnight your reading skills, but the shortcut is for 1 month, for 2 months, that you should start reading of your interest. Like for example, if you're interested in sports, to read related articles in sports in English. If you're interested in fashion, so read articles, magazine, newspapers which has got the similar news regarding your interest. So when you have an interest in something, and if you start reading, so you will definitely improve. But again, you need to spend much time. Like for these type of students, I think they need to spend 1 to 2 hours at least on the daily basis. And if the level is good, like if the level is 6 or 6.5 in reading, so I recommend them hbr.org. This is a very good website. I mean, there are good articles regarding every topic: leadership, motivational approaches, or business, or university current affairs. There are a number of topics. So by reading those articles, you read vocabulary, good level of vocabulary, and you understand the level of reading. You improve. I mean, not very much fast. That just gradually you improve. So I think the more you read, the better you understand. This is simple. So you have to spend much time in reading, and rather than I stop students to not to take out and underline the vocabulary, because once you start reading and you will take out the vocabulary and you will start finding in the dictionary, so you will lose the interest again in the reading. So just go on and on. Just start reading and reading. So continuously reading, you will be understanding the topic, the vocabulary automatically. Like if you see the word twice or thrice with the context, so you can get the idea. So rather than memorizing or inculcating vocabulary is not a good idea. And one cannot memorize the vocabulary, I think. And there are some students, they believe in that. They have list of 1,000 words, 2,000 words. They just start cramming on the daily basis, like 200 words, 300 words. I think it doesn't work. Practically, it doesn't work. I mean, they should go and they should be creating a habit of reading on the regular basis of their interest. If they want to if they want to improve in a shorter time, so they'd better start reading of their interest. This is my point. So this is what we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think vocabulary doesn't have to be a fundamental issue, isn't it? But if you
Yes.
say the unresolved issue that appears all the time, for example, you've taught all this, you have taught all these skills from like, like previewing the text, scanning, skimming, predicting, and all those things. But at the end, by the end of the day, you discover that the student is still struggling, and still, he still appears to have a sort of a good language skills. Okay, still struggling. I think that appears to be still kind of a thorny issue for teacher.
Oh.
Like, how would he be able to cater? Now, you see, before my question was about someone with a bit low level of language, but now we're talking about someone with a good level of language, a bit good level, but not really very good level. But still, the problem is that he's unable to resolve his issues. How would you help the student in that?
Yes, very nice question. Like what we do, the pattern I follow, I would like to share with you. Maybe it will be helpful for so many people. What I do when a student comes to come to us for the reading. So in the first lecture, we give them a detailed orientation for IELTS reading. Like we tell them that there are different parts of reading, like such as there is a list of heading question, true, false, and not given questions, fill in the blanks questions, and multiple choice question. And what we do not discuss or in the detail all the types together or give them a complete test and start solving and discuss. No, that is not a good idea. So what we do, we take out the first type of question, like suppose that this is list of heading question. So we make the student understand that how to crack list of heading question, what are the techniques to solve this question as quickly as possible. And after explaining them, we give them some handouts of the reading practice, which is only contain list of heading questions, no other questions. And we give them time accordingly. Like there are 3 exercises for 15 minutes each or 20 minutes each. So we let the students do, and while they are solving, we do not disturb them. If they ask us, we say we will discuss it at the end. Just complete it at your end within the given time. So once a student solve all 3 exercises within the time, and after then we give them the answer, and those answers are wrong. If, for example, there are 7 students in one class or 10 students in one class, so it is pretty possible that maybe student A has got 10 out of 10 right, student B 5 wrong, 5 right, student C 4 wrong, and 6 right. So what we do, we give them more 10 minutes student for the evaluation, for the self-evaluation. Again, we don't help them. We give them 10 or 15 minutes extra and say the students that spend some time. Now you have got the right answer. Find out the reason, that the strategies were told to you in the beginning, the tricks were told to you in the beginning, taught by the teacher. So where is the problem? Just try to find out the reason that why you could not pick the answer either, or why you picked the wrong answer. There are 2 reasons for making the wrong answer. Either you could not pick the right answer, or maybe you got the wrong answer. So you have time for 10 to 15 minutes just to review, and then after the review, and this is my experience, Hussain, that those students who are having 4 wrong or 5 wrong, after their self evaluation, they come to me and they say, sir, this is a very good idea. Out of my 4 wrong answer, I got the 2 answer after my self evaluation. And those questions which he could not understand, even though after the answer sheet he did not find the reason. And then there is a teacher's job starts. That teacher has to deal the student one to one in the detail and let the student know that where the problem is, that why did you not put the right idea here, that is why you got the wrong answer. So my point is, in the reading test, a student need one to one individual attention from the teacher to the student, then he can improve the band score in the reading. Especially if you don't give them, like I generally do not prefer students 30 students class. Like in my class, the maximum length of the student which I personally prefer, maximum 10 to 15 maximum. This is maximum, but for me the ideal class is under 10 students, which you can give a quality training for their reading, writing and speaking and listening. So I think but the process is very simple. Like give them first type list of heading, explain them, and then give them only those exercises, and then give them some time for the self evaluation, and then after give your time. If I directly go and start teaching, I know all the answers as a teacher, so I think it will not work, it will not improve their reading. So for improving their reading, we need to self evaluation. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Now let's speak a bit more hypothetically. I mean, like, you tend to get panicked in exam because you're stuck on a question. You're stuck with a question, sorry. And in a real exam, okay, and obviously the panic sets in, doesn't it? I don't know what to
Yes,
do.
yes. Students mostly. Yes, yes.
And you see that you spend too much time on the question and the clock is ticking. Okay, the
Yes,
clock is ticking and
yes.
it's a question, and then the pressure is setting in, the panic is setting in. I said, oh, come on, what to do? Because you're losing the other question because you're stuck on one question. Now, what is your suggestion on how we can address this issue in that case?
Yes. This is also a very common question from the most of the student. The answer is what I say to the students to divide. Like there are 3 passages in the Ielts reading. For the like according to the Cambridge, you are given 20 minutes for each passage. But what I suggest to my student, the first passage they should complete within 15 minutes. The second passage they need to complete in 20 minutes, and the third passage they need to complete in 25 minutes. And what is the reason? The length of the passage 3 is longer than 2, and the level of easiness, there is a level of understanding for the reading test. The first part is quite easier usually. The second passage is little bit difficult or longer, and the third one is longest and much difficult than first 2. So what I say to the, for example, if you start attempting the first part, so you have to finish all question, like it is 13 or sometimes 14 questions within 15 minutes. So what happens with the student when they start solving the question?
Okay.
So they quickly solve 3 questions and they're stuck in the question 4. So they spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes in question 4. So I always say to the student, don't do this. If you're stuck in question 4, just leave and quickly go to the 5, 6, 7, and try to end your topic. Fulfill the right answer within 15 minutes. If at the end, if you have some time, so the question you left earlier, just go back to them. If you understand them, that's okay. If you don't understand them, just leave them, and whatever the answer suits you, just pick them. If you spend more than 15 minutes, actually, what is the panic? The question you ask, that students get panic. Why they panic? Because the time is running out. So they become, you can say there is an odd word, they become, I would not be saying in the live session, but sometimes we become egoist like that. Yeah, I have to make it the right answer. Why I have stopped here? So I said, like, don't make the reason for your ego. Just go on, start solving. If there are out of 14 questions, if there is 1, 2 or 3 questions you could not understand in the first attempt and they are taking much time, so don't spend much time, just go ahead, go forward. So maybe there are number of other questions which you can solve easily later. So you are,
Okay.
there is a time stress. So 15 minutes for passage 1, 20 for passage 2, and 25 for passage 3. So this is my formula for my students. And this is the best formula. It's really workable. Yes.
Okay, now your response leads to another question. And I think that's a kind of a thorny question. You see, again, because you're so much in a race, okay, you want to complete the whole question in 1 hour, okay, and you're busy answering the question on the question paper, and by the time when you have 5 minutes remaining to finish the test, okay, you see that your answer sheet is still empty, and I think it's not really possible. It's not really that likely to be able to transfer all your answer in just 5 or 3 minutes. Okay. Now, what we
Okay.
understand is that if your answers are not on your sheets, okay, now no matter all the answers are actually there on the question paper and they're all correct, leading you to
Okay.
maybe 8 or 8.5 bands. But
Okay.
nonetheless, if your answers are not on the answer sheets, you're going to lose your band, maybe 3, 3.5, or 4, depending on the number of answers you're able to transfer in 3 minutes. Now, it's all about time management. You see, IELTS reading test is all about time management. How would
Yes,
be able to,
yes,
that here?
yes, very simple. I forgot to mention the time span we have decided: 15 for task one, 20 for task two, and 25 for task three. This time includes with the answer sheet. Like 15 minutes, you have to solve first part with the answer sheet. In 20 minutes, you have to solve second part with the answer sheet, and the last 25 minutes, you have to solve third part with the answer sheet. So you will not be having this problem.
But
We
Shirazi, but Shirazi, would you suggest if you transfer your answer directly on the answer sheet to save you time? How about that?
Yes. Yeah, this is very nice. This is very nice. Like I mean, we have to write the answer sheet with the passage. We don't have to wait for the end, because maybe if there is a long passage or you stuck somewhere else, so you will be having tension that I can't write in the last 2 minutes all the answer. And sometimes it happens, students are having the right answer in their mind, but because of not time management, wrongly.
Yeah.
Yes, they write wrongly. The spelling mistakes are there. Sometimes they don't write the first letter capital, or these sort of like. And normally, what is the problem? Like there is an occasion. They don't know how many C's, how many S in occasion, necessary, the common misspelled word. So they sometimes get confused. Like questionnaire, there is a word questionnaire. So normally student understand the word, but they write it Questionnaire, but it is double Naire. So these type of mistakes they do in the when they are in hurry. So I think it is suggested or recommended for the student to solve the answer sheet with the same time which has been divided earlier, whether it is 15, 20, 25. Maybe according to you it is 20 for each, maybe for some people this is 15 for each. So everybody has a different formula, but what I suggest is 15, 20, and 25. It is really workable. And another point I want to clear that most of the IELTS teacher, they teach directly all types of questions together, and that is the reason that students are very much apprehensive. They are, concerned that how will be I able to get the required band in the reading. And this is my suggestions for all teacher, that give them a break. Like initially teach them list of heading and work for 1 or 2 days only for list of heading question, and then true or false question work for 2 or 3 days for those exercises, and at the end give them a complete test, but individually teach them each type, and at the end give a complete test, and now say start solving. And one more thing I say, from day one, never compromise as a teacher on the time from the day one, because there are some teachers, they say, oh, this is the first class, this is the second class, you can take more time, no problem dear, you will improve, inshallah you will improve. No, this is bad idea. From the day one, make them to follow the rule for the timing. Don't give them a single second extra.
Yeah.
Time is yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I think timing is your worst enemy in the IELTS exam.
Yes. This is my point. Like I don't give them extra time. Even single second I don't give. Stop means stop.
Okay.
15 minutes done. Yes. So
Okay.
there is a check and balance
Okay,
from the
sure.
teacher side.
Okay. Well, I think there could be even more questions from participants that they can leave in the comment box later on. But I think we were more than able to respond to a number of questions about writing and also reading, and we were, I think, in a position to explain the questions and the answers, explain the answers in detail. Well, if they might have more questions, issues, they can leave them in the comment box later on, and I would be more than happy clappy rather, to go
Okay.
ahead with the answer questions.
Okay.
But I have a
Okay.
question. Which is that no matter how well you can write well and how well you can read well, you see that IELTS is exam of techniques, is the exam of strategies. So you need to know, you need to unfold those mysteries, and to do so, you need someone to help you through, isn't it?
Okay.
And
Yes,
and
it is.
and if you just walk in with such assertive behavior of yours in exam hall without preparation, um,
Mhm.
you bet yourself as a loser, isn't it?
Okay.
And what happens
Yes,
is that you will be going for another attempt in the future where you will be spending money, more money, I think, money for registration, money for preparation. You'll have wasted your time as well. So my strongest suggestion is to make sure that you actually get trained first for the course, and then you can sit for the test so that you're more than ready to achieve your required band score. So this is my suggestion, yes.
Yes, and one more thing, like when a student comes to me, so they said, sir, there is a problem with the student. They want to save much money for the IELTS preparation, but they are happy to pay the registration fees of the IELTS. So they try to experience the teacher with the low preparation cost, and then they spoil their time and money, and then after they go to the good teacher. So this is also the problem, to find a professional teacher. To find a professional teacher, candidate needs to see the track record of the teacher. I mean, for example, for how many years teacher is training the students, and how experienced and qualified he is, and the students he has taught earlier, that how are their bands, like did they improve after preparing with him. I mean, take some references, like. So this is the best part. Second thing, I would thank you so much. But one more thing I would like to say here, that this is our first program, and normally when people take some initiative initially, it is not very much appreciated. So maybe few people are watching, and maybe some people will watch, or most of the people will watch. But this is my duty as a teacher, to discuss and share live things for the people, that if one student will be benefited, that my target is fulfilled. And if there are many, that will be a happy moment for me and for you too. And we should appreciate each other, like I am appreciating you, you're appreciating me, and we are doing this for the betterment of the people. So I think it was a nice session, and we will be having some more session later on, inshallah, on a different topics of the IELTS speaking, of IELTS listening, or some other topic we can discuss live, and that will be beneficial for most of the people. So I mean, we have to be motivated, stay blessed, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so
Thank,
much. Okay.
thank
Have
you
a
so much.
nice night. Goodbye.
Have
Goodbye.
a nice
Bye
night.
bye.